Commercial Construction Coffee Talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's Dave, of course, and I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction Renovation magazine. If you haven't seen it, that's what it looks like. There's Chris Donner from Mammoth Holdings Car Wash on the cover, a couple issues back. Anyway, thanks for finding us on the web. Hey, I know it's Thursday. I've got my colors on. It's not lacrosse because lacrosse comes up on Saturday. We're playing Villanova. But tonight, actually, the game's starting right about now, about ready to drop the puck up in Beantown in Boston. University of Denver Pioneers versus Big Blue out of Michigan. Two #1 teams in the Frozen Four. 4 teams left. We're in the semifinals. So if we win tonight, we'll play Saturday night for the national championship. So go boys on the ice. Let's get it done against Big Blue. It's going to be great. And can't wait to catch the rest of the game. But had this scheduled before I knew they were going to get there. So, hey, that's the way it goes. So anyway, I got my colors on. And hopefully my dogs won't be barking either, because they're getting ready for the game too. So hope everybody had a great week. It's spring break week here in Atlanta. We got the pollen going on. We had some wicked weather over the last couple of days, but we'll take the rain because we need the water to keep the lake full for the summer that's coming up. But now it's nice and sunny, beautiful day out there, breezy. I mean, it couldn't be nicer other than the pollen getting the green off you, So with that said, today I have a nice gentleman. He's way out in the West Coast up in Seattle. His name is Brian Fisher. He's the director of supply for McKinstry, which is basically, electrical contractor, MEP, and they help clients with their programs and eliminating waste, becoming efficient and so forth. And obviously, everybody's booming right now, in commercial construction. I don't care if you're in retail, restaurant, hospitality, federal, craft brew. I mean, it just runs the gamut. But everybody is trying to get things done, on time, under budget. Obviously we've got the supply chain issues, and the oil prices going up and gasoline, and it just we're getting hit from everywhere. But things are getting done. So we thought Brian would be really cool because he would have could give us kind of a gist of where he's coming from with some of his clients on what's going on out there. So Brian, say hello to our guests out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk out in the web.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and welcome to our show. And we kind of do this in 3 parts. You got to tell your story, where you grew up, where you went to school, how you ended up where you were today. And then we'll kind of talk about, coming out with the light at the end of the tunnel with the pandemic, and then we'll finish up. So with that said, the floor is yours. But of course, people are going to ask you what's swinging above your head, and you got a guitar in there, so we know you're a rocker. So give us that whole gig.
Yeah, so what's swinging above my head is my Elvis clock. I bought that in Memphis, and I just thought it would be funny. I keep it in my office to make people laugh, and it's disarming. I don't know if you can see the whole thing, but what you see dancing above my head are his legs just swaying to the beat of time. And I keep a guitar in my office because, well, the intent is, in our business, when things get crazy and stressful, sometimes you just need to break it out and release a little bit of tension. But I also find both of these things fairly disarming. When people come into my office, it sort of gives them a launching point to have a conversation with me. And so, yeah, I enjoy talking about music as much as I enjoy talking about construction.
When was the last time you were in Memphis?
Oh boy, it's been about 15 years.
Well, let me tell you, I did one of our executive retreats before COVID hit, and we did it in Memphis. And I had been to, Graceland a long, long time ago. People, you think you go in there, the house was really tiny, and, they had the souvenir shop. But now they've put a whole amphitheater in, and they've got all these buildings with all of Elvis. You could spend the whole day there. And a lot of people that I invited for our retreat had never been there before. And it was the most awesome thing. So for those of you who have never been to Graceland, let me tell you, they have got Elvis's cars, all his outfits that he worn. I mean, it is an humongous place what they've built out there. I know my guest that we spent basically the entire day out there. It's not just the little house. The house itself is great because you get to see where Elvis is buried and, what the house basically looked like way back when. But they have put together the most unbelievable collection of Elvis. And the coolest thing is when you go in there, they show you a video of Elvis. And I mean, I had tears in my eyes. I mean, it goes all the way back from when he started, till, the end. And it was one of the best videos I'd ever seen. But, if you haven't been there in a long time and, you got Elvis there, you will be blown away of what they've done out there. It is unbelievable. And that was one of my best trips. People are like, what are you going to Memphis for? I'm like, it's rock and roll. And coolest thing, we went down to, the main drag in Memphis, and we went to BB King's. We did dinner down there. Anyway,
Hill Street.
Yeah, exactly. So the first night we went to, I forget what the one restaurant. It was cool. They had a nice band. But the second night we went to BB King's and had dinner, and they had their band. Oh my God, talk about a good time. It was awesome. And we had great weather, and we were only a couple blocks. And, I went and saw Sunset on Saturday after our event was over. We all hung. We went to Sunset Records and did the tour. That was awesome. Everybody got their picture with the mic. Went to the King Memorial, and you know what? It was a great thing. And but like I said, going to Graceland, if you haven't been there, you got to go back. You will just love it. So, but that's what's hanging. Elvis is in the house.
Yep, Elvis is with us at all times.
So tell us your story. Sorry to break in there, but I had to mention that, get it out of the way because it was bugging me.
That's all right. I could talk about guitars and Elvis and Memphis blues all day long, but that's not what we're here for today. So I'll tell you just briefly a little bit about myself. I live in the Seattle area, grew up here. I've been in construction about 15 years. A lot of my career in construction was with a general contractor before joining the mechanical HVAC world, which has been a great change, a great learning for me in the past 4 years I've been here with McKinstry. Had multiple lives before I got into construction at my age, so I was a little later into this industry. I went to school at Washington State University, go Cougs, and then after doing that later in life, that's when I entered into the construction industry. My original goal was to pursue music, which I still continue to do, but the adult in me realized that the likelihood I could pay my mortgage on that was pretty slim. So I decided to join something much riskier and much less, lower margins, which is construction. So anyway, here we are today, and I'm happy to be with this organization here in Seattle, Washington.
Yeah. What did you go to school for? Were you a music major or?
Yeah, well, you'll love this. I'm actually a broadcast journalism major.
Oh wow, awesome.
Yeah. I thought the ties to music and broadcasting would be fun, and it was. It obviously doesn't tie directly to construction, except communication is important in everything we do. And so I find it actually continues to help to this day. How to build a concise message, how to help your organization understand things, and how to communicate effectively is pretty important in everything we do anyway.
So how did you get into construction? I mean, what led you to,
Yeah, so I worked for a company doing construction sales. So some of the largest contractors in the country were customers of mine. And I had some friends in the construction side. And so as I worked through that from the sales perspective, which I really appreciated, it gave me a good visibility to many of the people that I work with today. Being a supply chain director means that I engage with suppliers a lot, and sales reps and account executives and so on. And so through that experience, I started really getting excited about being a little bit closer to the built environment and being part of producing that tangible product that you get to see when you drive down the freeway and you say, we built that, or I was in that building when it was just the bones, or I helped get that tower crane set up, or whatever that may be. And you drive through the cities that you've worked in and you get to remember when we built that stadium or did that HVAC job. So I found that part to be really rewarding, to have some tangible product to sort of hang my hat on, so to speak.
Nice. Well, with that segue, you've gotten into construction. 2 years ago, COVID hit, everything got shut down. Now, 2 years later, we're kind of, like I said, there's light at the end of the tunnel. The country's kind of opening up. There's still a couple little mandates here and there. I know I just flew to a funeral last week, but I know that the masks are going off the planes on the 18th, so only a couple weeks away. And we're basically opened up. And but it was a game changer for everybody. Everybody had to figure out what they were going to do, and no one knew what was going to go on. So as you look back over the last 24 months, talk about your company and how your firm dealt with it, and the vendors, just in general, the people that you were talking to, and maybe some of the lessons learned,
Sure.
That you undertook.
Yeah, well, so there's a lot of challenges we overcame, but there's also a lot of silver linings and a lot of lessons learned, to your point. And lessons are always great because it can really help you understand what you need to work on better, or it can reinforce what you've been doing that turns out to have been the right choice in the first place. So maybe I'll speak a little on that. I think what we noticed in construction was there was a lot of fear that things would just shut right down. Well, and in fact, they really didn't. So demand for products continued to be high. Supply of products started to go down based on some activities that manufacturers were sort of undertaking to try to get ahead of slowdowns in demand. Well, in fact, the demand stayed high, which presented a series of challenges for us to get the things that we needed. Most of the people that on my teams and the people in the field, well, we still continued to work, right? We didn't necessarily just go and start camping out at home, although many people did work from home and quite successfully. But we still needed to get the job done, right? So we just had to find new and interesting ways to get the job done. I think one of the main things that I wanted to point out that the pandemic and all these different supply chain challenges pointed out and in fact reinforced for me is that the way an organization is structured, so your organizational structure relative to supply chain, really, or anything, but my expertise being supply chain, is critical to how you deal with challenges. So being organized, having a way to control the flow of information, disseminate internally the flow of information, whether it's market news on shortages on products, market news on increases in costs, or schedule delays, a variety of things like that. An organization needs to manage that. When things are going crazy like they've been, you've got information coming at you all day, every day from a variety of sources. And if a construction company is organized in such a way that that information is coming to 1,000 different people from 1,000 different people, you really can't manage the messaging. You can't build a strong strategy around it quickly, and you can't make quick decisions on how you need to invest or pivot or be flexible with your approach. And so I feel very fortunate in how our company chose before the pandemic to be organized to take on those challenges. Part of it had to do with our growth. We're growing still, and we recognized the need to start to really get organized around these different disciplines: supply chain, manufacturing, pre-con and sales, all of these things. And so having teams set up to know how to manage that information, build strategies around that, make decisions on how you're going to buy material, how you're going to manage the supplier landscape, how you're going to overcome weird challenges with costing and tariffs or whatever it may be. It is already a challenge, but it's a challenge that can be managed if you're organized in a way to be able to bring people internally in the organization together to say, okay, we've got this challenge. We have some ideas for strategies on how to get around this. We're going to engage with our customers, build consensus on that strategy, whether it's buying out early or whatever that may be. There's a variety of approaches you can take. And that's allowed us to be really successful in weathering this storm. And the idea is that there's a lot of things we don't control, right, in the market today. So many variables you don't control. But what you do control is how you respond, how you react to those.
Absolutely.
And if you're organized in a way that allows you to do that, like a well-oiled machine, then you are going to be better than your competitors, which we're a for-profit business. So of course we want to compete in the market space. We want that to be part of our value proposition. So I would say that's the main thing we learned, is that things are going to happen. How you're positioned as an organization to take on those challenges is really what differentiates you from another.
Now, was your office closed? Were you virtual, or were you, how did all that go?
So our office, a couple of years ago, of course, there was sort of kind of a big close for a minute. Let's just kind of regroup and figure out what's going on. So about 75% of our folks, and maybe upwards to 80% staff, office folks, were working from home during that time. Job sites remained open, but we had to navigate how they would open safely and all the safety protocols. I mean, my team spent 3 months alone just figuring out how to manage the supply chain of masks and all those things to accommodate that.
Oh, sure.
Many of us, folks like me who have teams still in the field, would still come into the office, but we started to work from home more to maybe limit the amount of exposure. And so that's moved steadily more towards a comfort level of being back in the office. But it started with a pretty large shutdown and then steadily worked more towards bringing folks back in.
Yeah. Are you doing a hybrid, or, right now, or are you pretty much having people coming in, daily? Or
We're doing a hybrid for most staff folks, and that's sort of based on easing back into the norm. I think that's more of a psychological exercise than it is any specific strategy for people that have, grown comfortable with that or whatever that may be. So we probably have, I would say, 40% of our office folks coming back in at least 3 days a week. And then we're working towards maybe drawing a bit of a more hard line on saying, okay, it's time to be a little bit more formal about when we say folks are going to be here. Fortunately, most of our folks love our culture. They want to be here. They're excited about being back here. But I would say about 40% office back in. All the field obviously remained in. And I would say by the middle of the summertime, we'll be probably 75% of the staff will be, say, working from the office 3 to 4 days a week.
I saw an interesting article the other day. I get a ton of stuff sent to me, and it said that, people, they want to go to rock concerts and football games and do all this stuff, but they don't want to go back to the office.
Yeah.
They want to stay home, and I'm still productive, and if you're the business owner, you have to keep a very fine line, because you don't want to tick your people off, number one, but also you could also offshore it and get, cheaper labor overseas. And, but so it was going through all these different variables of what business owners are, having to think about. Do I keep all this office space? Do I do a hybrid? I had an MEP firm on, I think, a couple episodes ago, and he was doing the 3-day-a-week thing. He was in the Big Apple in the New York Metro Tri-State, and he had just started doing his, 3 days, a week that he would come in. Now, he said it was great seeing people, but he still liked, working out of the house and stuff. So when I was reading this article, I was like, wow, I mean, I can totally get it. Yeah, no, I'm good. I want to see everybody, but I don't want to go back to the office, and
yeah. Well, I'll share we work in the Pacific Northwest, an environment of heavy traffic and land and waterlocked freeways, all that kind of stuff. So traffic and commute and having an expensive downtown, and we're close to downtown, that becomes one of the big things that people find relief from. It's like, great, I don't have to commute, anymore. And although that's true, our organization's philosophy and my personal philosophy in construction is that interpersonal relationships are critical to solving problems in this business. They are going to come up. They're intense problems. They're time sensitive. You can't always schedule a Teams meeting to solve a problem that happens now. Somebody needs to walk down the hallway, pop into your office and say, I need to talk to you about this. And when you've got to solve complex problems together and maybe even fight about it and then hug it out as a family organization, that's a lot easier to do in person than it is over Teams calls. So I think that's something that we've had to really deal with and come to grips with and be more intentional about stating that that's really part of who we are.
A lot of people, as they, over the last 2 years, in the beginning, they had to figure out, okay, protocol is the biggest thing. I don't want to be liable. How am I going to keep my crew safe? Depending on what state my project's in, what are those regulations? Some are going to be, more strict than others. All those things. If you're an essential business, you had nothing to worry about. You could still crank, but you still had the fear factor per se.
Right.
And, now as we, last year we went through it and it kind of dwelled, and the new variant came in and it's just been a roller coaster, but everybody's been busy. The biggest thing that whether you're an electrical contractor, regular contractor, facility maintenance, no one can find people. People is the hardest thing these days. I just had a flooring installer. So Dave, do you have anybody? I mean, I'm just looking for a business development person, and I'm like, so I ran an ad. I put it up, popped it up on LinkedIn, and ran it on my last email newsletter. But I said, look, if you're looking for a PM or a superintendent, some contractors are booming. They would like to go do business, but they're scared to take it on because they don't even know if they can even,
Right.
work the project because they don't have the personnel to do it. So, did you see that in your own business as well, or
Yeah.
maybe with some of your clients that you're working with?
Every single day. I have positions posted out there to be filled ongoing. It seems to be forever. And we interview constantly. We have a lot of folks that are out there looking now because they've gotten the sense that the grass may be greener somewhere. It becomes increasingly critical that you create a working environment and an esprit de corps that makes people want to be here, and to really test whether are you part of the industry? Are you building a career in the industry? Are you out for a dollar? Are you out for whatever that is? And people have to come to those conclusions on their own, but it's for us to try to understand what people are really looking for so that we can select folks that stick around, but also to create an environment that people want to come work in. I mean, there are plenty of industries out there saying that they'll pay a ton more for similar jobs, and that's part of the competition of it. And so you really have to inspire folks to, in the hiring process, in the recruiting process, to get excited about construction, excited about the company, excited about the environment. We used to really enjoy bringing people in to interview because when they would really get a feeling for who we are, and it excites people because it's a great place to work. And we're starting to get back to that, which I think is actually helping with the recruiting process, is saying, I want to do the in-person interview. Bring that person in. When they get a sense of who we are, they're going to be excited to work here, and we're going to get them on board. But retaining talent, extremely tough right now. Staying on pace with what people expect for compensation, what people are looking for in career advancement, all those things are changing generationally. I mean, I'm not telling you something that you don't already know. Any of us could Google it, like what's going on, right? But I think what it is you have to be, as an organization, open to and willing to redefine what resource people management looks like. And if you are too set in your ways or too inflexible, then you are going to be at a disadvantage. But if you're too flexible and not thoughtful about it, you could also be at a disadvantage there. So it's striking a balance between the people first work environment that we pursue, but also we've got a deliverable for our customer. We need to meet that. We need people to do it. But to summarize, to answer your question, yes, it's tough. Getting people to hire, getting people to stay, it becomes much more of my job today than it was 10 years ago.
You've got Boeing out in Seattle. So
Yeah.
my son works for Boeing in Charleston, and he spoke to me, called me the other day. He's like, Dad, I just had a recruiter from Lockheed Martin, and they offered me $15,000 to move to Greenville. And I said, bro, listen, you're in Charleston, you're living in a resort, basically the hottest city in the South. Nothing against Greenville out there, guys. It's a beautiful town. Furman University, the bottom line is this. I said, look, you're living in Charleston. You're on the ocean, okay? You got your contract, finish it out, but you're going to get all sorts of these jobs are going to throw money at you. You got to look at everything, because when you go, if you decide that, okay, I'm going to go there, you want to go look at the city if you've never been there before, but also you got to weigh all your other options too, because you might get there and go, oh, I don't like it. And then 5 months later, you're going to leave. Now, as a business owner myself, I don't want to have to train someone and then 5 months later have to retrain someone after I gave them a big bonus to move and so forth. So, these are the things that, I want to see someone that's got some longevity. I have no problem with people, jumping the corporate ladder and making, transitional moves. But, I just said, look, just put all that stuff in your pocket, and you're going to get a bunch of these things as time goes on. But when you do make the move, you got to look at everything. It's not just about the money. It's about corporate culture, where you're going to live. And, you don't want to get that reputation of, oh, I'm a job jumper,
Yeah.
And, it's amazing on LinkedIn. I've been around 25 some odd years. So I've met a lot of people. I get resumes. And sometimes I see people that, I'll see their anniversary. Hey, I'm celebrating 25 years, and I'll go back to them and I'll say, hey, 25 years, that's pretty cool these days. But then other people I've seen every 4 to 5 months, especially, in retail, they see the writing on the wall, they go, and they might have been, 5 or 6 companies in the last 5 or 6 years. And, I look at those, I'm like, hey, they really know their stuff, but do I really want to have someone like that on there where I'm going to spend all my investment and time to get them training and so forth, and then they jump ship,
Yeah.
And so and even if you can even get someone these days to come and even think about it is like the biggest one, in my opinion. So,
yeah. Well, there's, some of us sort of joke around that we think there's going to be this great reckoning, when all of the sort of soul searching and dollar chasing maybe turns out not to pan out. We're going to see a large number of people sort of realizing maybe on their own that they should have thought about their own career development a little bit differently, and even trying to reinforce that messaging respectfully, of course, within the organization, and saying, encourage people to think about that, just like you're doing with your son. You have to encourage people to think about, are you in an industry you enjoy? Are you building an expertise that is a value you keep with you your whole life? And even learning an organization, there's a value in becoming deeply ingrained into an organization and knowing how the things work, the different departments and who to talk to and how to get things done. When you leave, no matter what the industry is, you start all that over again. That's painful. That's painful. You want to remind people sometimes, especially if they're a little bit earlier in their career, that can be very hard to do. And there's a value in knowing how an organization works, understanding your trade really well, or your specific discipline in construction. This is a complex business. You're not coming out of the gate with a whole lot of value you can add until you've paid your dues. But once you get past that hump, you're extremely valuable, right? And you want to keep that value. You're building currency for yourself. You're building value and investing in yourself, and it pays dividends, but it may be a little bit slower paced than some folks are really comfortable with, at least those first 5 or 10 years, I guess.
Let's talk about, the built environment and how McKinstry kind of helps with, that waste factor and efficiency with your projects.
Sure. So, I mean, we're extremely passionate about eliminating waste in our industry. A lot of waste in the construction industry, and there's a lot of reasons to eliminate that waste. Part of it is just the affordability crisis, right? We are seeing costs of buildings, of real estate, of construction development shooting through the roof, and it's not on pace with the value proposition. It's just costs going up. It's not cost for value going up together. It's just costs going up. And so we're obligated to try to control that cost, manage that cost for a couple of reasons. One, because we have an obligation to make sure that the built environment is affordable, makes sense, it's a good return on investment for folks. Also, that it's energy efficient from a cost perspective, which is both important to the customer, but it's important to our world. And then the climate initiatives. We're intent on being a zero carbon neutral business by 2030. We are a large engineering firm on top of that. So we actually help partner with our customers to design buildings based on their efficiency goals, not just on how many people do you have to put in the building, what kind of rooms do you want, but really how do you want that built environment to operate as a sort of living, breathing entity? How do you want your controls to make sure that it's efficient? How do you want to make sure that the systems are designed in a way that have the lowest possible impact to our environment? And so we partner with customers specifically on that value proposition, partly because it's who we are. Of course, we have the benefit of living in the Pacific Northwest, where that pitch is a little bit easier to make than other parts of the country, perhaps at times. But we are 100% committed to eliminating waste because of how it fits into our climate pledge and the environmental impacts, but also because of the cost. And also just on the people side of things, the world is becoming more chaotic for folks. Technology changes are coming fast and heavy on people. And we have a goal of sort of eliminating some of that unnecessary chaos and waste to create a more harmonious, working environment, living environment for people. One of the things, though, we also have a large service arm and an energy contracting or performance contracting arm. And we all work together to figure out how the whole life of the building, from development to service to TI and rehab, how to make sure that is a nice flow stream, cost effective and efficient, and is making sure that the investment is not a waste, right? So you don't want to just build something, tear it down, build it again, that's wasteful. But we also have I think it's worth noting that we also point that at ourselves internally, our own properties. How can we reduce the carbon emissions, make sure that they're low cost and efficient? We're also on track to fully electrify our fleet of 625 construction vehicles by 2030. And it's cost impact, but it's also just an environmental impact. And
Hey,
it's the
your
right
state
thing to
just
do.
passed the 2030 no gasoline vehicles, right, in the state, correct?
Right,
Remember
well,
that?
and I think, yeah, I mean, the devil's in the details on some of those things. You kind of look at what's
Well,
really in the small print. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, I think those things, you have to really believe them. It can't just be a sales pitch or something that's the theme or the popular theme of the day. You have to embrace it as an organization. We certainly do. I'm certainly very proud of that. So when I think of supply chain efficiencies and the built environment for us, it's reducing waste all the way through, including how the building operates. We even, have a development arm where we develop properties that are intended to be zero emission properties, and in fact have the energy sometimes going back to the grid. And we have a renewables section of our business that looks at solar and lighting controls. So it's a big part of our industry, and it's only going to continue to grow when public entities or municipalities start to build the expectations that buildings meet certain efficiency and certain energy requirements. So you got to be ahead of that, right? You can't just wait for that and then start to change how you build or how you design. You have to be ahead of it.
My family, we've been in steel recycling since 1888.
Wow.
And so we were, my cousins are fourth, fifth generation. They're running the company. But, we were, when I look back, because we're basically another man's junk is our gold. So, we recycle everything. And I look back and, sustainability became a buzzword, and the USGBC came about and all this. And I was like, shoot, man, my parents were doing that 100 years ago, man, before I didn't even knew any of that stuff. But, I'm a recycler, and, I get all that, and it's just, it's like in my subdivision. I'd love to put solar panels up on my roof because I would love to be able to generate power, and then if not, sell it back to it. But the HOA won't allow it, and so I got to deal with all that stuff. I'm building a house up on the lake, and I'm waiting for products to come down because my house is going to cost probably $150,000 more right now just to build, and I'm not building a monstrosity. It's going to be my empty nester house, but I don't want to put grass in there. I want to put astroturf. I don't want to water anymore. I don't want to cut grass anymore. I want to put solar panels on there, and and they don't have. There's only 50 homes lots that were up there, so they really don't have an HOA. But I know that they're going to put one in there. And my wife was on our old architectural board where we lived for 17 years. This will be our fourth house, I think. Fifth, I don't know. I've been here since '92. So, but it's just crazy when you think about some of this stuff that you would like to do, and some people just don't see the light, and there's those, it's do I put the cart before the horse, or is there any mutual ground that people can get in on? So
yeah, well, at the risk of being preachy, the time for action is now, because it's so long before those actions produce results. You talk about an HOA, you could replace the words HOA with public policy and be dealing with the same thing. You've got to get further upstream. Yeah. You've got to influence public policy. You've got to socialize that. You've got to influence your industry peers to care about the same things. And you have to really proselytize out there in our industry, because there's a lot of people that are saying, well, I'm going to spend more to build it, and I don't really want to spend that. But the long-term investment or the environmental impacts, we're trying to weigh those different pros and cons. And I realize people are making often a smart fiscal decision in trade for maybe what would be the right environmental thing to do. And I understand that. I'm not challenging that. It's a debate that has to happen. It's a healthy debate, but the time for action is now. I have a 15-year-old daughter, and I want to be able to look her in the eyes when she's 30 and say, I did everything I could.
Yeah, I did that. I did that. That wasn't there before.
Right.
So if you were going to leave, just one positive thought or phrase with our listeners out there, what would it be? As you come out of the pandemic, coming into Q2 in 2022, what would that be? That kind of, planting their head and go, wow, yeah, that's good. I can gig that.
Well, I would say, don't ever let a challenge which presents an opportunity to improve pass you by. This pandemic and all these things have presented a great deal of opportunities for us to identify ways we can improve, whether it's how we collaborate with each other, it's how we think about how we're structured, how we interact with our partners in the supply chain or our customers. Hard times often can make it really difficult to think about all of the things that you're actually learning from that and improving upon. And I'm optimistic in the lessons that we've learned. Now, humans are fickle, so hopefully we'll remember these things. But when you think about domestic production of materials, right, we'd lost sight about the values of that and the trade of what globalization, the cost savings that brings. But maybe this is reminding us that domestic production is an important part of what we do as well. It's reminding us that interpersonal communication and collaboration is important in all of the things that we do. And I think it's also going to remind us that we can only get through tough challenges when we come together, have strong leadership, build common visions and goals, and then make decisions and just go for it, move ahead together.
Hey, and then when it gets tough, the tough get going. That's all I got to say. It's like I know us pioneers. I see you got your Cougar sweatshirt on there too, so I know that you're a proud Cougar. But it's just like today. Michigan, best team in the country, but we're right there with them. I mean, there's very little, but I know, like, I'm sure that talk before they went out on the ice after the warm-up skate, and they were sitting in there going, "Hey, it's time to get it done." Hey, we got 60 minutes. Got to play all 60 minutes. You got to make everything happen. You got to make mistakes, but that's okay. As long as you do it, you can. And at the end of the game, if we win or lose, as long as you gave it your all, that's all you can do.
Absolutely.
And so, if someone wanted to get in touch with you, or at your firm, and bounce some ideas off you, how would they reach you?
Well, people can certainly email me. I mean, I can, brianfi@mckinstry.com. I'm happy to engage with industry partners or other interested parties that want to know what we're doing or learn some lessons from us. So by all means, feel free to contact me. Or if somebody calls some number here at the office, if they Google us and call a number, they'll know how to get a hold of me.
Okay, cool. If someone wants to reach me, I'm at davidc@ccr-mag.com. Love to hear from you. I know you all have heard this a million times, but if you don't buy a lottery ticket, you can't win. So if you don't send me something, I can't look at it. We get a couple million people a month hitting our website. So I look at all these different projects. So if you have personnel announcements, something cool that you've been doing, new hire, whatever. I look at everything, and we'll find a place for it. So send me stuff. You look for it, and you never know where you might end up. You might even end up in the magazine. So we'd love to hear from you. So Brian, you want to pick up your guitar and just do a little jam for us, or or not? That's up to you.
I'll tell you what. I'll if it's tuned, I'll hit a chord for you. How about that?
Yeah, man. Come on, man. I hate to put you on the spot here, but I was like, come on, I want to hear. I got Nashville right across from me here.
Beginning of an Elvis song.
Okay. All right. Woohoo! The kid's in the house. Yeah, baby. Route 66.
I think she's a little out of tune, but what are you gonna do?
That was awesome. So, but my favorite thing about Washington is Eastern Washington University with the red turf. Am I right?
Yeah, that's excellent. Yes.
Yeah, that's apples in Washington and the red turf. So all I know is whenever I come flying to SeaTac, I always take the train down and Uber around. Traffic is the times before I would get a car and park and do it. No, take the freaking train. It's so much nicer. And Seattle's an awesome town. They got ice hockey. They got the Kraken.
We do now, yeah.
And they fight, which we love it. So it's it's great to see hockey up in the Northwest, and it's really, really cool place. So I only have fond memories of my travels over the years there. So so Brian, thank you so much for taking the time out, and hopefully I'll get to meet you in person someday, and we'll go to some bar, and we'll see you go up on stage and jam some tunes, and
That'd be great. I look forward to it. Thanks for the time. It's great chatting with you.
yeah. And for all you out there, commercial construction coffee talk land, we appreciate you signing in. And listen, April showers, big May flowers. It's listen, stuff's happening every day. You can't even keep up with it. Information is just mind blowing. Our industry is just going bonkers right now. Everybody's getting back to the shows. They're getting back on planes, and it's just an exciting time to be alive. And it's going to be amazing to see. I can't believe it's already April. I mean, it was just New Year's, and now it's already April, and we're coming into the summer. And before you know, it's going to be the holidays again, and we'll be saying bye to 2022 and ringing in 2023. So time just goes so quick. So do your best, forget the rest, and just kick tail. That's all I got to say. So everybody, enjoy the weekend ahead. Brian, enjoy the weekend out west, and say goodbye from Seattle.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody from Seattle.
And I'm going to say goodbye from just below Lake Lanier at the Beaufort Dam in Sugar Hill, Georgia. And I'm going to say as well, go Pios, beat Michigan. And we will see you next time on another episode. Brian, you were awesome. Thanks for chiming in with us. And everybody out there, we'll see you next time on CCCT. Talk to you later.
Cheers.
Cheers.